Game week 8 is upon us as FPL managers, and I'm sure most of us are wondering who to transfer in, who to transfer out. Not to worry, in this video, we'll give you some advice, we'll give you some tips on who to consider when it comes to transfers. And as of course, we'll also give you advice on who to captain, because it's very necessary who you captain as well, and whether to use a chip or not. And we end with a big team reveal, of which you can also consider some players and see how best your team could be managed this game week. So game week 8 is upon us as FPL managers, as I said. Game week 7 was all sorts of fun. And before we do get into it, I'd like you to kindly hit that subscribe button, like, leave a comment, let's know what your plans are also heading into game week 8. So as I said, game week 8 is almost here. Before we go, let's see how the fixtures are coming. So it starts on Saturday. So Chelsea are starting the header. They face Nottingham Forest away. So Chelsea away to Nottingham Forest, followed by Brighton taking on Newcastle. Then we have Burnley Leeds, then Crystal Palace Bournemouth, then City Everton, followed by Sunderland Wolves. Then it ends with Fulham taking on Arsenal. It's going to be a very interesting match. And on Sunday, we have two matches, that is Spurs v Aston Villa. Then it ends with Liverpool v Manchester United. So that is going to be the big game of the round. Then it ends on Monday with West Ham United taking on Brentford. It's going to be an interesting game as well. So that is how the fixtures are looking heading into game week 8. So we'll quickly go through how the fix. So before we do get into the transfers, I would want you to consider one thing. Before you go into your transfers, you'd want to ask how best is this transfer or this transfer going to take me for at least a week or two. So that's where we go into the fixture difficulty rating. You could do that yourself. Just go through, analyze, and see how the teams are also, how the fixtures are coming upon the teams in the subsequent weeks. So based on the index, we have Arsenal taking on Fulham, then followed by Crystal Palace, both of which are showing 3. So it has a fixture difficulty rating of 3. So that is based on the analysis. So you go through, you realize that some teams have a very, very good. Chelsea have a 3 and followed by a 2. That is what's based on the FDR. Then we have Leeds having green, green. We have Liverpool having grey, grey. That is 3-3. We have City having a 2, then a 3. Manchester United a wine, and so that is a 5 and a 3. Newcastle 3-3, Spurs 3-3, Sunderland 2-3, so 2-4. So you just want to go through, see how it's looking. I think Liverpool, City have quite some tough fixtures coming up, or tricky fixtures coming up. So you want to be really conserved on how you bring in your players. Spurs to have quite some tricky fixtures coming in. So their next about 5 games are all going to be very tricky. They take on Aston Villa, followed by Everton. Then they go to Chelsea, Manchester United. They have Arsenal in the mix thereabout. So we move to Liverpool. So you can see, all in all, some of the teams have very tricky fixtures, and you'd want to really consider that when it comes to your transfers. Arsenal have a good set of run for the next about 5 game weeks, which is good. So you could look at it. Some teams have green, green, but you should also analyze green, green based on the type or the category of team. So with Leeds United, they have 2 green, greens, but these are championship teams or newly promoted teams taking on each other. So it's going to be very competitive. It's going to just be like any other quote and in quotes big top 6 match. So it's going to be something like that. So you could end up producing very little goals, or it could go it could go any other way. So you'd want to also consider that when it comes to your fixtures. So once that is done, then we look at how the players things are going for them. So based on form, we have Haaland leading the charts, followed by Semenyo. We have Gravenberch in the mix. We have Gabriel, Rice, Kudus, and a whole lot in the mix as well. So heading into game week 7, you could see that the most picked player was Semenyo. That's so heading into game week 8, you'd want to assess. So who should I bring in? Who should I bring? So you do that by assessing your most transferred in, most transferred out. So the most transferred out heading into game week 8 so far, we have Salah followed by Grealish, we have Joao Pedro, Gyökeres, Richarlison. So these are the players most managers have lost hope in. And it's interesting to see Salah there in the mix, but I am still keeping my belief in him because he hardly disappoints. So I'm keeping my trust in Salah for a while. That is a personal decision. So the most transferred in Semenyo, Voltamed, we have Haaland, we have Caicedo, we have Timber, Kudus, Gabriel, Saka, Senise. So I always say if you are really out of ideas, you don't know who to bring in, just do the simplest thing. Come to transfers in. Just go with the most transferred in players. Get them to suit your budget. Get a couple of them in your team, and you should be good to go because one thing is certain that if everyone is going for a particular player, then he's probably doing something right. That's why the masses are going for him. So if you are really out of you don't really want to apply differentials, you don't really want to do it based on FDR, that is a fixture difficulty rating. You don't want to really do it on player stats. You don't really know what to even do. Just go for the most transferred in player. Avoid the most transferred out, and you should be good to go. That is just the simplest way to get your team done, and it's good for you. So to do your analysis, I've spoken about quite a few so far. So that is how it's looking heading into game week 8. So that is for the transfers. We've also looked at the fixtures. We've looked at how difficult some fixtures are coming in for some teams. So that is very important as well. And before we do get into the team reveal and the captaincy issues, let's just go through and see how the top managers did last week. So overall, let's just go through about 3. So number 1 in the world so far, let's see what he did right. So he played triple captain. He had Virgil in the mix. He had Timber, Gabriel, Kudus, Rice, Caicedo. So you can see for yourself his team was quite solid. Let's analyze team number 2. So this manager had Gabriel, he had Poro, he had Timber, he had Saliba, he had Semenyo, Caicedo. So at least you have some constants in Haaland, Semenyo, Caicedo. You have Gabriel too in the mix there about Magay in the mix there about as well. So these are players that you can really consider because I feel then most managers feel they are doing something right. We have Vadel, we have Van der Ven, we have Kudus, Semenyo, Saka, Haaland, Timber. So all in all, you can see some constants. If you just go through, you can see some constants. And I'm not sure they are going to totally change their team. So if you are out of ideas, you can get some of the top players from here, basing them on the most transferred in, and you should be good to go because he has Haaland, you have Kudus in the mix, you have Semenyo, but you'd also want to consider the fixtures coming in because Kudus, I feel now, heading into the next about 3 to 4 fixtures, it could get dicey for him, but who knows? This is where he could shine. So it's a 50-50 affair. If you feel you can't keep your trust in him, you can just take him out and get a Saka to just replace him. If you feel you want to trust him too, it's a good idea. It's just about your trust. The analysis on the ground is it's solid because their fixtures are 3. Tottenham are in good form. So he's also providing the goods, and so you could still maintain him. But if you want someone that you feel you are safer with, you feel okay, I could get more returns, you could consider Saka as well. So just go through the things and you'd always get what you want. So so my team. So as I've said in my subsequent videos, I'm going for differentials for a good number of weeks. I'm just going to pick most players that most managers are not really considering. And the interesting thing is, no matter what, you are going to have people selecting these managers. So you'd always have these players in there. So no matter what, you'd have one or two there as well. Yes, so that is how I'm going with Raya, Gabriel. I have Kudus in the mix, Semenyo, Salah, and a few others. So I don't even have Haaland. That's quite interesting. So I don't really have Haaland. This is my team. I have the constant in Semenyo, Kudus. But apart from that, I've brought in Joao Pedro, who is one of the top transferred out so far. I have Salah, who is also among the top transferred out so far. And that's how my team is looking. I have Gabriel, so three constants and a few differentials in the mix. So when it comes to captaincy, I think Haaland is leading the chart. So if you are really not too sure who to pick, they are taking on an Everton side who even though have been solid, have tried to be solid this season, are very open, so it could be good for them. So you could go for a Haaland if you are really out of ideas. And we have also, I feel differential captain picks. You could go for Bowen, who is taking on a Brentford side that are also quite expressive. So it's going to be good. There's a new team that is being managed by the former Nottingham Forest boss. So they are going to be very solid. We expect them to also come out and provide the goods. Then you could have a differential also in, I would say, Saka, because they are taking on a Fulham side. But the only downside is Fulham are very difficult to play. That is going to be the downside for Arsenal. Anyone who go for an Arsenal player as a captain, but you never know. Arsenal are in good form, so you expect the best from them this season. I went with Salah. That is a differential captaincy pick. I hope it helps me out. I hope I get my returns from this team and my captain. But that is my choice because I'm focusing on differentials, as I said. And let's see how that goes. So this is how game week 8 is looking. Just get your selections right based on the few things I've said. And we hope for the best. We will give you some few analysis after or as the game week goes, or after the game week ends. And you should also know that after game week 8, during the midweek, we have Champions League action or UEFA action. So you are going to have Champions League, Europa Conference League. So some of the teams will feature in there as well, after which they'll come back. So it's going to be all sorts of interesting. You have to be calculated because injuries could come in, fatigue could come in. But one thing I do know is most managers are going to try to conserve or maintain their teams and their team selections, that is, so they can get the momentum going for some time. So you should be good to go, not too much to worry about. All right, so this is it for game week 8. We're out.